Hey guys, so today I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite audiobooks. So recently I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks and just really enjoying them. I have never been a diehard fan of audiobooks. I just really love to listen to music, and music is one of my favorite things. I actually also play guitar, so I just love listening to music. It's one of my favorite things to do, and usually I would just listen to music whenever I was doing like stuff like laundry or whatever, but then I kind of got into this audio book just like phase. I'm just so obsessed with audiobooks right now. I'm getting through one like a day and it's amazing and I'm just loving them. I think they're so much fun and I just love listening to them. So I wanted to share with you some new ones that I've been listening to and some favorites. So first off, I have From Lukov with Love by Marina Zapata. This is a sports romance. I actually recommended this in a video, I think in my last video, but I kind of have forgotten a little bit what it was about, and so that's why I was like, oh my gosh, I should reread that. So From Lukov with Love is about our heroine is a figure skater, and she has kind of been on her own doing like solo work for a little while and hasn't really had a partner, and so this guy named Lukov, his parents like own the whole training facility that she goes to and all this stuff, and they've hated each other for years, and so he propositions her for her to be his new partner in like the doubles ice skating, and she's like, no way, I don't want to do that. But then she kind of gives in and they start working together, and they absolutely detest each other, but they have this really funny playful banter, and I just loved it. I loved how he was always so protective of her on the ice and wanting to make sure she was okay, and this book is just so fantastic. And on audio, I think Marina Zapata has like the same like narrator for a lot of her books. Her name's Callie Dalton maybe, and she's absolutely fantastic reading these books. I just love her voice so much, and just there's so much humor in these books. Even though they're really long, they keep your attention, and I just loved it. So it's a sports romance, and they have to work together, and they're trying to go to the Olympics someday, and I just really love this book. It was such a great audio, and just what I also loved that I thought was interesting is that when the hero would talk, they had a different narrator that would speak as the hero, but like the hero didn't have his own chapters, which I thought was really cool, and I'd never heard in an audiobook before. And then the next one I want to talk about is Tide by Karen Cole. This is also in my video last time, but I had listened to this recently on audio and just absolutely loved it. The audio narrator for our heroine, her name's Ava something, maybe Ava Harrison, I think, and she was just absolutely incredible. So Tide, our heroine, was kidnapped when she was 5, and she has been like abducted and held hostage for 11 years, and so our hero actually saves her and finds her in this like hole in the ground in the woods, and at first they think that he is the one that like kidnapped her and all this crazy stuff, but he didn't. He just he has like an impairment in his vocal cords that happened. He was in an accident, and so he can't talk really well, and so they thought that he was the one that kidnapped her, but then they got that figured out. But anyways, she when she goes home, she's so excited to see her family, and she is just not matured as a young woman would, just because she was kidnapped, and of course that's a very traumatic experience, and so she is back with her family again, and she just feels like everything's going to go back to the way it was, but it's not, and that's a really harsh reality for her to face. And so she goes off for 2 years to this like weird like school / dormitory thing that like helps her and others that have gone through similar situations get reacquainted with the world. And so now she's out, and she is trying to find the guy that saved her, and it's just so good. She sees him in the woods again. That's where he lives, because he was in some pretty bad accidents when he was younger, and so I think he has a lot of scarring, I'm pretty sure, and he just thinks he is not beautiful enough and just not deserving of her or anyone because of what he went through and what he looks like. And she's like, no, I want to be your friend. And it's just so, like, so sweet. And so she actually had a dog while she was kidnapped that stayed with her, and that was like her best friend. And so the dog's staying with the hero because her parents won't let her have the dog, and then he has like an animal, but it's like a fox. It's just such a cute story. Even though it has a lot of darkness and emotion to it, I loved it. This is an age gap and forbidden romance kind of ish, so just know that going in. And definitely check the triggers on this one, because the heroine does go through a lot of things in this book. So just make sure this is a book that you would like to read, kind of thing. So, okay, so the next one I want to talk about is actually a series, and that's the Bridgerton series. So I have been listening on audio to a couple of the Bridgerton books, and they've just been so good. The narrators have been incredible. If you want to binge the series, I highly recommend listening to an audio. It was just incredible. So this, everybody probably knows what Bridgerton is about, but if you don't, it is about a family in kind of, I think it's the 18th or 17th century, which is like the 1800s. And so each of them needs to get married off, and the first book is about Daphne and Simon. And there's hate to love, marriage to convenience in these books, but they're also very emotional. The one I just read was Francesca's story, and it was so good. Her husband dies tragically, and her husband's cousin has been in love with her his whole life, and so they have a romance, and it's amazing. Highly recommend the series. And then the next book I want to recommend is Tattered Stars by Catherine Cowles. I absolutely adore Catherine Cowles. I think this is her best series, the Tattered and Torn series. And Tattered Stars is about our heroine Everly, and she lived in this family that was very like a doomsday family, thought the world was kind of gonna end, and so they put her through all of these like survivalist things when she was younger, but her father takes it a step too far when he kidnaps a young girl, and so Everly is like, I need to let somebody know that this girl's kidnapped. So in the middle of the night, she's on her horse and like riding through the middle of the night to the sheriff's station to tell them that like my dad kidnapped this girl. And so thankfully the girl gets saved and she's okay and she's with her family, but Everly is kind of ousted from her family, and they don't accept her anymore because she kind of ratted on her father. And so now she has left the town for a couple years and finally came back to live in her home and just be where she knows she's meant to be. And so the hero is actually the sheriff of the town, and his sister was the one that was kidnapped, and so he harbors a lot of blame and guilt, but he really blames himself, but he blames Everly for it, to kind of get those feelings out, and it's hate to love. But when Everly starts kind of getting these weird stalkerish things happening to her, the hero gets very protective, and they have a romance, and it's amazing. This whole series is so good on audio. I don't know who picked the audio narrators. Sometimes it's the author, sometimes it's not. I think I'm pretty sure it's the author, because like usually indie authors can pick their audio narrators. I'm not quite sure, but it was just impeccable. It was so good. Highly recommend. The series is amazing. Small town suspense, lots of different tropes that I think you would really enjoy. The next one is the Fall Men series by Jenna Darling. I have talked about this series so many times on my channel, but I just love it so much. And the audios for the series are amazing. This is a motorcycle romance series. The first book is a student-teacher romance, but reverse age gap, and it is just so good. I'm not going to go into every book because that's a lot to do, but if you want to know more about Jenna Darling, you can check out my video. I'll link it down below. I did a whole author guide to her books, but she's just incredible, and I think all of her books are amazing. And with this series and Anti-Heroes in Love duet, she did audios for, and they're just so good, so highly recommend. The next one is The Earl of Mine by Kate Bateman. This is a historical romance, of course, and our heroine, she is trying to find a husband because her family is really pressuring her to marry somebody so that her like creepy cousin can get her inheritance. Like, he wants her to marry him, but she's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be a free woman. So she decides to go to like the prison in England and find a guy to marry so that she knows is gonna like is on like death row or is gonna die or whatever, is like not gonna be in the picture. And so she marries this guy, but what she doesn't know is he's secretly undercover, and he's like not gonna die. He's not a prison inmate. So the next time she sees him, is in like a ballroom in like high society, and she realizes that like my husband is like here and alive, and so she tries to strike a deal with him that you know, I'll give you whatever money you want if you go away or we get a divorce. But then he is working on this case, which is why he was undercover of I think it's like murders, and they have to kind of work together, and it's a little bit action packed, and I really enjoyed this one. The audio was very good. And if you want a really fun historical romance, I highly recommend this one. And then the next one I want to share with you is Stolen Heir by Sophie Lark. This one is my favorite in the series, probably. I just loved it so much. And so our hero, he has a very traumatic past. This is a mafia romance, and I think he is, I can't remember what mafia he's a part of. It might be the Polish mafia. I can't remember. I think it's the Polish mafia, because then the heroine is part of the Irish mafia. But anyways, he witnessed his sister pass away. Well, not pass away, she was murdered. And so he basically set a chain of events where he like killed the guy that killed his sister, and now he is a part of the mafia. And so now it's years later, and he's this big guy in the Polish mafia, and he goes to Chicago to try to kidnap one of the daughters of the Irish mafia, I think, and the Irish mafia killed his like leader or something like that, and so he kidnaps her, but it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling romance kind of, and our heroine, she is a part of the Irish like mafia family, and she is like the sister of the hero in the first book, and she's very quiet. She's a ballerina, a dancer, but she sees this like light in Mikolai, I think that's his name, and it's just such a good romance. It's dark. She doesn't want to fall for him, but she does, and she's kidnapped. It's kind of forbidden. I really enjoy this one, and the accents were amazing. It was so good. I just really adored this book. The next one I want to share with you is another historical romance, and that is The Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath. So this one is a very emotional historical romance, a little bit like dark emotional kind of feeling. So our heroine's husband passes away in Africa, but the heroine doesn't know that. So, well, actually, yes, she does. So what happens is she is told that the her husband's brother died, but it's actually the heroine's husband that died. So the hero is a brother of her husband. They're twin brothers, and so the hero becomes his twin, so that because she's actually pregnant, and she's lost babies before, and so they don't want her to lose this one because it's basically the heir to like the earldom. And so he basically lies to her and pretends to be her husband, and it is so good. It's very angsty, and when she realizes that that's not her husband, she's like, oh my gosh, I actually have feelings for him, and it's pretty insane. I love this book. That was kind of a weird explanation on my part, sorry guys, but it is such a great book. I just love it. And then the last one is another historical romance, and that is Night Song by Beverly Jenkins. This is her first book, I think, and this is my first book I read from her, and it's about our heroine is I think she's like a school teacher, and this guy from the army comes into town, and they kind of start up of like a friendship, but she kind of hates him because she has bad experience with soldiers from an experience that happened with her grandfather. being killed by one. And so she really doesn't like him, but he keeps pushing for her to be with him. And then somehow they get marriage of convenience to each other. Like kind of a forced marriage a little bit. But it's really, really good. It's very action-packed. I really enjoyed it. I don't remember quite that much about it, so that's why I'm being a little bit vague. But trigger warning for lynching in this one. It happens at the beginning of the book. But I really enjoyed this one. There's some action towards the end because there's like this suspense thing going on, but it was really good, and I think it's a great place to start with Beverly Jenkins' book. She always says to start with her first book and continue on through her discography. So I just really enjoyed this one. It is so good. But that is the end for this video. I hope you enjoyed me discussing some audiobook recommendations with you. I am just loving my audiobook journey so much. Definitely down below, let me know what your favorite audiobooks are, because I would love to know. I just want to read all of the audiobooks right now. I don't know. I just am loving them. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you soon. Bye.